Welcome to PharmaSource, recorded at CDMO Live 2025. This episode is brought to you by Qualifies, the platform that helps life science teams streamline audits and predict site risks with AI-driven insights.
Good morning, and welcome to the first CDMO Live here in the World Trade Center, Rotterdam. We feel truly honored to have so many of you here. It feels a bit like it's our own birthday party for this very special launch event. So thank you all for being here. Thank you for supporting us. I'm Luke Bilton.
And I'm Chris Kilby. Our journey with the PharmaSource community and with CDMO Live began 2 years ago with the belief that this critical market sector deserved a Tier 1 event entirely focused on it. And thanks to all of you, here we are today at CDMO Live 2025. In these uncertain and fast-changing times, it could not possibly be more important to bring together this critical market segment to meet, to discuss, and to plan for the future.
If we learned nothing else from the COVID-19 pandemic, it's that contract development and manufacturing is now the driving force behind modern pharma. And whatever short-term pressures we face, and we'll be talking a lot about those in the conference, we know that the science will keep advancing and that external manufacturing will be right here making it happen.
Our mission for this event is simple and straightforward. With your support, this will become Europe's #1 event for connecting and partnering between outsourcing leaders and the CDMO ecosystem. And finally, to our sponsors and partners, thank you very much for believing in our idea and our vision and our determination to make it happen. Your support has made this totally possible, and we're super excited to see so many of you here today. So thanks again for being here.
So, thank you. So let's get started. So I'd like now to welcome, please, the Simon Kucher team to the stage, Khan, Fabian Kecik, and Clarita Simon. We've been working together on some really interesting research. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Luke. Hello, everyone. We are thrilled to be here. And I have to say, it's really an exciting venue. Looks awesome. I can't remember in the last 15 years as a consultant that I ever had the opportunity to present in such a nice room with such a nice setting. So yeah, we're really looking forward to it. Yeah, so what are we going to do today? We are going to give you a sneak preview of the results of our CDMO growth report. I think many of you were also among the people who have provided their insights, and this is what we are going to spend the next 20 minutes with. So before we get started, maybe just a quick introduction from our side. So my name is Khan. I'm a partner at Simon Kucher. Based in Frankfurt, Germany. Simon Kucher is a global consultancy focused on what we call better growth. So we help companies to drive growth via commercial strategy, marketing, pricing, sales, these types of topics, and we have been around for 40 years. I'm specifically in charge of our global pharma services business for the company. So over the last years, I have been supporting many CDMOs, CROs, and similar companies on their growth topics. And I'm here joined by my colleague Clarita, who is working very closely with me on the pharma services space. And the two of us have now the great opportunity to present the results of our survey to you. The way we are going to set this up today is first giving you a bit of a background on what was actually the demographics. So who did we speak to? When did we speak to people? And then we will really deep dive into 3 core topics. The first one is a bit of market performance and growth outlook for the next couple of months to come. I think this will be interesting for all of you. Then we will talk a bit about the topic of outsourcing and manufacturing capacity. So what does the market expect for the year to come? And then finally concluding with any success factors when it comes to the collaboration between CDMOs and biopharma companies, as well as opportunities for additional value creation and innovation in the space. So we will then wrap it up with some key takeaways, both for the CDMOs, but also for biopharma companies and related implications. So looking at our survey, It's important to mention that the fielding phase started in January this year and ended in April 2025. Now, Trump's tariffs have been communicated a few weeks ago. So the results that we are going to present to you in a few minutes do not include the impact of the announced Trump tariffs. So over the last 3-4 weeks or so, we have actually reached out to many of our clients and also some of the respondents of the survey in order to ask them how would their answers change. And they could not really give us an answer, right? And I think all of you probably feel the same. So I know there will also be a dedicated session on that within CDMO Live. So just wanted to emphasize it here. And you will see that many of the topics when it comes to collaboration, value creation are obviously independent of these potential developments. So in total, we have gotten insights from more than 100 respondents in 40 different roles, on the CDMO side, from business development, commercial functions, but also R&D, and then obviously on the biopharma side, everyone who is involved in selecting CDMO partners. And I think many of you are also sitting here in this wonderful room. If we double-click a bit on the CDMO side, you can see that we had around 70 experts here, and we will also provide different cuts later on according to different CDMO segments. So on the one hand, we have segmented them into early phase focused CDMOs versus late phase focused CDMOs, and then also end-to-end CDMOs. And we have also another cut, which is small molecule versus large molecule focus or multimodality. And on the pharma side, we have segmented them into emerging biopharma, which obviously includes biotech, small pharma, and then established pharma, mid to big pharma companies. So that's really it. So let's get started. And Clarita, maybe you walk us through a bit of, where is the market coming from? How did they close the last year? And what are a bit the expectations for growth for 2025?
Super. Happy to do so and to really jump into some of the key insights that we derived from the survey that Khan introduced just now. Looking into 2025 and to what extent CDMOs and pharma companies actually achieved their targets shows that the year was okay. It was not extremely positive, but also not extremely negative. So that's a little bit where we're coming from a state where late-phase CDMOs and established pharma were a little bit more successful, and early-phase CDMOs and emerging biopharma trailed behind a little bit more. So as you can see in the illustrations, the picture is actually quite positive, but still the majority were actually meeting their targets, with mostly in the late phase and established biopharma space, having companies that were able to exceed the targets in 2024. Especially in emerging biopharma, you also see that there's quite a large share, around 30% of companies that still trailed behind last year. So this is a bit where we are coming from the past year. But now we are ready in 2025. So let's look at how this actually looks like and how the sentiment is now. And it's super nice to see that CDMOs are quite bullish about 2025. So the outlook into the year and the future is quite positive. Established pharma is a little bit more cautious, yet optimistic. So overall, a very positive picture. And what we see is that actually those type of CDMOs and pharma companies that were a little bit more successful in meeting their targets in 2024 are now a little bit more cautious in terms of their growth outlook for 2025, while those that lagged behind in 2024 in their growth achievement are now quite bullish, such as the early phase focused CDMOs, but also the emerging biopharma. So overall, a very nice picture and a lot of optimism in the industry. But the question is now also, how can this growth be achieved in the market, right? So what are going to be the right levers and the most impactful levers that both CDMOs and pharma companies are relying on? And the very interesting cut that we identified in the data was actually looking into small molecule CDMOs versus large molecule focused CDMOs. And we investigated different growth drivers. And as you can see that the relevance of those is actually quite different depending on the type of CDMO we're looking at. So small molecule focused CDMOs rely heavily on service expansion, while large molecule focused CDMOs see growth mostly from market tailwinds and improved pricing. Now, if I say improved pricing, it's important to understand that this is not only about higher or lower price levels, but also about the price models behind that. And we will actually touch upon that topic later on. So it's actually great to see that this is one of the most important growth drivers for large molecule CDMOs. Looking a little bit at the other factors like entering new modalities, here we see especially ADCs, high potent APIs, oncology drugs as kind of the key modalities where growth is expected to be coming from. And for geographic expansion, it's a bit more in the medium side in terms of the importance. But if we look specifically into APAC, the importance increases drastically, where expanding the geographic footprint is seen as a bit more important to grow. So that's a little bit where the industry is coming from, where they are standing now, how the sentiment is going into the next month and next year.
So growth sounds fantastic, but growth also has a certain implication, and that is capacity. So what is the industry sentiment on capacity? Clarita, what do they expect for 2025?
Yeah, thank you, Khan. And actually, capacity was one of the most relevant factors to consider by both CDMOs but also pharma. It's an important topic. It's top of mind for many of you probably. So what did we actually find out regarding capacity expectations for 2025? And the result is that CDMOs do expect capacity constraints. And especially late phase focused CDMOs, similarly to established pharma, there's the biggest expectation for capacity constraints. Now, what we also see that in early phase focused CDMOs, the capacity constraints is still a little bit more limited, even some excess capacity is still out there. And for early phase and end-to-end focused CDMOs, you can see that the picture is quite balanced in terms of some companies exceeding capacity and some expecting limited capacity. So you see the trend of and movement in the market getting more to a state where capacity is limited again, coming out of the last year. So a lot of change and transition here. So the picture is still a little bit more mixed than what we see in some of the previous questions. Nonetheless, it is an important topic, top of mind, and to be actively managed, so to say. Especially, again, just to highlight again, late phase focused CDMOs and large pharma really expect constraints looking into commercial manufacturing.
So I think now we have a good view when it comes to the growth outlook and sentiment, as well as potential capacity outlooks. And now the big question is, what can CDMOs and biopharma companies do in their collaboration in order to enhance the overall experience, move towards strategic partnerships? So Clarita, I would be interested, and I guess the room is also interested to understand, what are actually some of the success factors when it comes to the collaboration? Where do you see differences among different archetypes, emerging pharma versus established pharma? And how does that connect to the CDMO perspective? I think it will also be interesting to understand a bit more about the price models that you were already teasing. Mm-hmm. So what are the price models of the future, and to what extent are they already used? And AI is obviously also a very big topic, so maybe you also have some insights for us regarding that.
Yes, I will be happy to go through, and many different topics that Khan mentioned just now, but all of them kind of feed into ensuring a good collaboration between pharma and CDMOs. So in that end, they are still tied together. And with the growth outlook that I shared before, this is actually super important. So these targets can actually be achieved. So what were actually the top 5 success collaboration criteria that were mentioned by pharma? And the answer is not as straightforward as you might think, because depending on who you ask and what segment you're looking at, the needs and expectations for a successful collaboration is actually different. Therefore, this is what I want you to focus on at first, is that actually the order of priority and also some of these factors are not even among the top 5 for large pharma versus more biotech state pharma companies, shows that there's really unique needs for each customer segment. And this is really the first takeaway, realizing this and being able to cater the approach and engagement with between pharma and CDMOs to those different needs. Nonetheless, it's obviously still interesting to look at the actual criteria that were selected. So we see there's a few that are really non-negotiables, like quality, for example, or having a good value for money. This is really key among all segments that we looked at. Nonetheless, there is a few other criteria that are not as balanced between the two segments here. So, for example, operational and supply chain reliability is a bit more important for more established pharma. So they value this reliability factor higher than the speed factor of getting slots very quickly and having a super fast project initiation. So really this reliability factor is something that stands out here for established pharma. On the contrary, what stands out for emerging biopharma is the need for strong collaboration, good communication between them and their CDMO partners. So really highlighting these more soft factors, let's say, in the project execution. So this is important to keep in mind. First takeaway regarding the collaboration. Now, Khan also mentioned a few other topics. So what else can be done to get a good collaboration in place and create win-win situations? And this is actually regarding the revenue models. So we tested a few different price models, and the outcome is actually that there's no price model that completely stands out as something that is super attractive for both CDMO and pharma. There is a few win-win models, like more milestone-based related models or performance-based pricing that already show quite a lot of interest, but there's still room to improve and to tap into that opportunity and create these win-win situations. Especially for emerging biopharma, those alternative models are a little bit more interesting than for more established pharma, given the tighter budget situations that they oftentimes face. And understanding this and understanding how you can create these long-term relationships also via these models and improve the collaboration factor between pharma and CDMO is something that for us is really the takeaway from this, seeing that there's still some misalignments between the attractiveness of some of these models, but also generally nothing that completely stands out. And the last topic that we wanted to share, Khan also mentioned it already, AI. So I guess a buzzword that everyone is thinking about a lot nowadays. And our report also shows that AI is top of the list in terms of active investments. Similarly to continuous manufacturing, which was also quite significant. Even though we have this aligned view on these two factors, there is still a lot of other topics that are seen as interesting for some, less attractive for others. Not a lot of alignment between pharma and CDMOs on some of these topics, and generally a lot of inconsistency in terms of actively investing in these areas. So for us, this also indicates that there's still a lot of opportunity to tap into that and to identify the best ways to leverage these technologies for own efficiency gains and process optimizations, but also to identify opportunities to strengthen the collaboration between pharma and CDMO. Now, if we look into AI, obviously there's a lot of topics behind that. What we found is that it's actually mostly related to process optimization and R&D as kind of the most attractive opportunities right now. But obviously there's many more opportunities behind that still need to be tapped into, and the opportunity behind that still needs to be unlocked in the industry, especially when comparing to other industries. Our report also showed that the majority actually feels that this space is still lagging behind some of the other industries still that are already a bit more advanced in these new technology investment areas. So I hope, Khan, that answered all of the topics you wanted me to deep dive in, and I hope you can now conclude a little bit what the audience should take away from these insights that we consolidated.
Happy to do so. By the way, I've seen a lot of people taking pictures. We will also share a QR link at the end of the presentation. And this is really just a sneak peek. There will be more. There will be a full report that we are happy to share with all of you. Probably takes a few more weeks, then we have it ready, and then you get access to it. Now, let's wrap up and also think a bit about the so what for all of you here. So we have put together 6 implications for CDMOs and pharma companies related to the findings that were just presented by Clarita. I think the very first one, the pharmaceutical representatives here have probably already thought about that, and you're probably already doing that, is to secure capacity early, especially when it comes to any large molecule-related project in the late phase, and also with end-to-end CDMOs. Given that the supply constraints are expected to tighten. Now, when it comes to CDMOs, Clarita already talked about that. In our view, it is so important to not pursue a one-size-fits-all model when it comes to engaging with your biopharma counterparts. You need to tailor your engagement strategies in order to address the very different need profiles of these different archetypes. And we have shown you one example where you can see that when it comes to emerging biopharma versus established pharma, there are big differences. And we have only shown you the top 5. If we go a bit further, you can see that differences are much, much bigger. So this is important. And what does it mean, engagement strategy? I think when it comes to offering, when it comes to your value messaging, when it comes to your pricing, when it comes to your contracting, you need to make sure that there is a differentiated approach in order to differentiate yourself, but also secure more effective and longer-term partnerships. The third implication for CDMOs is related to pricing. I think it's important here that CDMOs pursue a dynamic and flexible pricing tailored to these different pharma needs, and also move away from standard approaches. And there is an opportunity to explore win-win price models, milestone-based payments, as mentioned, performance-based payments, for instance, based on the yield or any other metrics, are really the future, and they can also help to strengthen long-term partnerships between CDMOs and biopharma companies. And as Clarita has shown, right now there is not a broad agreement on what should be the alternative pricing model. And I think, when you're discussing with your counterparts, maybe show a little bit more openness and try to figure out how you can make this work, because it is really a differentiator and can also help to bridge any gaps on the funding side, especially when dealing with smaller companies. For large companies, think about multiplex pricing, performance-based discounts on the longer term, moving from projects to program-based pricing. So there's a lot of opportunities, and I think an opportunity for you here to maybe offer and discuss some alternative models. Now, when it comes to the services, there is one aspect that we have been discussing with our clients a lot, and this is value-added services. So value-added services that can be offered on top of core project scopes. Really a service that can help to enhance the overall customer experience. Also help you to drive value differentiation and, again, building stronger partnerships. We believe this is a unique opportunity, and I'm 100% sure that many CDMOs here are already offering this selectively here and there, but try to maybe have a systematic offering, or different value-added service packages that you can provide to your pharmaceutical counterparts. We believe is important. So touching upon those different needs that were identified, collaboration and communication for biotechs. So what can you do in order to fulfill this need? I think this is something that we would strongly recommend CDMOs to look into. Yeah, and then finally, on the technology side, AI and continuous manufacturing, again, are strong differentiators. Right now, it seems that the investment appetite is there. However, investment levels are actually a bit inconsistent. So doubling down on these technologies can really help you to stand out in the market. And you can see that from a pharma as well as from a CDMO perspective, there is mutual interest in doing that. And who knows, maybe in a few years from now, also the pharmaceutical companies in here will actually check closer to what extent has the CDMO already implemented some of these advanced technologies. So could be a decision criterion of the future. So those are really the 6 strategic implications that we wanted to share with all of you today. And as mentioned, there is more to come. As mentioned, there will be a full report that includes also more differentiated cuts on these different segments that we are very happy to share. It has been a great collaboration with PharmaSource, Luke and Chris. And again, it's really great what you have put together here. And I think everyone is looking forward to the next 2 days. So with that, thank you so much. It was a pleasure to opening this up. And yeah, we're looking forward to great discussions and a wonderful CDMO Live. Thank you all.
Thank you.
For more external manufacturing insights, head to cdmolive.com and download our 50-page summary of the event. Make sure to book your ticket for CDMO Live 2026, taking place the 27th to 28th of May at the World Trade Center, Rotterdam. We look forward to seeing you there.